Well, thankfully, just 4 more games to suffer. The first of those is going to be Forest away, which is on Monday night at 8 o'clock. I think it's on the telly, this one. Steve, the reverse fixture back in January, for me, that was when the penny dropped and I knew that we'd be down because that was a horrible, horrible night. And Forest have been a bit hit and miss. Not brilliant away from home, obviously, but it's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, I mean, Forest will absolutely be identifying this game as the one that they have to win. I mean, essentially for us, realistically, I think we all accept that we're done. But from a mathematical perspective, we need to win that to have any even slight outside chance of suddenly sort of pulling off a miracle, sort of Fulham-esque, if you like, from that time under Roy Hodgson, where they won their last 4, I think, and stayed up on goal difference. And yeah, Forest. I mean, let's be honest, Forest are rubbish. They're so bad. And
there's a lot been made of our poor recruitment, but
yes,
at the start of the season, they recruited a lot of players, didn't they?
they
and
recruited everybody.
It's not worked.
I mean, everyone sort of said at the start, oh, they're doing a Fulham, which, yeah, I mean, basically they have. They've thrown a lot of money at a load of players, which some of them have looked all right. Most of them have come and gone. To be honest, half of them are injured, I think. So they've not had an awful luck fitness wise, but they're an odd team in that they've got 2 or 3 players, I think. So Gibbs White, Awayemi up front, and strangely Serge Aurier, who have actually stood out for them this season. And I mean, I don't think anybody who saw him at Spurs would ever have penned him as the guy for a relegation fight. And yet he's been, by all accounts, he's been excellent. But they're a team that are kind of just on that downward slide, and can they arrest it? Their home form's been okay. Obviously, beat Brighton midweek last week to get themselves out of the bottom 3 at the time. So they'll basically be looking to replicate that. Whether we'll be quite as obliging as, I mean, Brighton were clearly sort of reeling a little bit from their FA Cup semi-final defeat, and took their eye off the ball a little bit. Unfortunately for basically everybody else down the bottom ends of the table. Because I think before that game, if Brighton win that game, you're just saying, well, Forest are coming down with us. But they've shown a little bit of life. And problem is, we've got to go there now and play a way that's gonna score goals. And I mean, well, yeah,
there lies the problem.
Yeah, I mean, insert your own punchline here. It's just a situation where, and obviously where all our good performances have come against the good teams. Forest are not a good team, and we know this, and therefore there is no expectation that we're going to turn up and put in any sort of performance, because we'll treat it in the same way as we would a trip to Old Trafford or the Emirates, and we'll basically try and hit them on the break, when actually that's not the way to break these sort of teams down. You put pressure on their back line and they'll crumble. But that's not the way we've been playing all season, unfortunately.
I mean, Glenn, is it largely irrelevant? What are you hoping to see on Monday night? Because
I don't know. I'm past caring, to be honest. You know, you got Sellers has got to pick a team to go and win, as Steve said. You know he won't. You know, there's nothing to suggest that he'll do anything other than what he does in all of these 50-50 games. And you know, it'll be the players that you know are not going to do anything.
Yep.
He'll have to go some to beat the performance of Nathan Jones's team when we lost 1-0 at home, because that is in the conversation. I've been watching Saints since the 70s. That's in the conversation for the worst performance I've ever seen.
I don't think we even put in performances like that under Bramford, did we?
No. Honestly, I'm not saying the Bramford era was any good by any stretch of the imagination,
but cup final.
Most of the games we actually looked like we were trying to win, even if it was incredibly basic. You know, lump it up to Ian Dowie, whatever. But we
scored a few goals, didn't he? We had a plan.
Yeah, most of them bounced in off his face. But
Did we have 6 1-0 wins in a row that season?
Yep.
The last First Division season.
God, we'd take that now, wouldn't we? We'd absolutely take that. So.
But we're gonna
better than all our 1-0 defeats against all teams
that's
around
what
us. Anyway,
that's what I was about to say. We're probably going to get another 1-0 defeat, which is the most likely result from this game. I mean, Forest. I watched the game against Brighton, and as the lad said, Brighton were definitely having a bit of a hangover in that second half, and they didn't really lay a glove on Forest. And Brighton, of course, got back on it this weekend and won 6-0. So. Forest definitely caught them at the right time. Brennan Johnson is another player that Steve didn't mention, who always seems to be one of their sort of players at the forefront. And they got a new lad in midfield called Danilo, who's scored in the last couple of games. So I guess we'll have to watch him. Be interesting to see if we actually track him when he breaks off the back of our midfield, because we've not been terribly good at that in recent games. So. It's another one. We have to go there and try and win, but will we? Probably not. I've accepted our fate a long time ago. I mean, the Forest game at St Mary's wasn't the time. I don't think I really accepted we were relegated. I think that was about 3 games into the Nathan Jones era. That was the game where I realised that Nathan Jones is appalling and we have to get rid of him as soon as possible. But then we
and recruit some decent players in January. I remember that was at least the transfer window's open, and at least we've got a bit of money, and we're going to bring in some players that will score some goals and turn all this round, and we'll be okay.
Orsic came in the next day, didn't he? And what a rip-roaring success that's been.
But instead of that, what we did was we denied Man City the quadruple and kept him in a job for another 8 or 9 games, and that's. One of the reasons out of many why we are going down to the Championship next year.
There we are.
So,
if you're,
so as you can tell, really looking forward to Monday's game. Can't wait for it, and can't wait to talk about it on 2 weeks today.
The following night, if you're watching live, by the way, put your score predictions for this one in the comments, because we'd like to see those. Jacob, I think lose this and it's out of our hands, isn't it? I think, would it be 9 points adrift with 3 games to go? It's going to be really difficult to get. Well, it shouldn't be difficult for the players to get motivated for this, but equally, we've been watching this team for long enough now. We know what's going to happen.
Yeah, stick a fork in Southampton, they'll probably be done by then. I spent a week actually listening to a TED talk by Rasmus Ankersen from 5 years ago in Manchester, and he did
was that the one where he uttered the famous line of "If it ain't broke, consider breaking it"?
Not quite. He said the table always lies. He said that's a cliche that the table never lies is wrong. So if you want to
isn't.
If you want to go along with Rasmus Ankersen's viewpoint, then there's nothing to worry about. I think it's going to be, I think the Forest game is one of those where I think Forest will be really up for it. They're going to see this as a great opportunity. It's on an evening kickoff. It's going to be an intense atmosphere. I don't know if these players have got anything left in the tank, really. You can have all the systems you want. Sellers could have the perfect game plan from a managerial point of view, but I don't know if the players have got. He could. But even the thing about Sellers is that I think some of his stuff is I can understand, but some of it he's made mistakes. But it's been shown really bad and in a terrible light because of the players, because they've got nothing left. They don't really listen to him, and maybe that's his fault. But I think the players are mentally cooked, and I can see if Forest get an early goal, or if they get on top, then I just worry that Southampton are just going to completely just disintegrate, and it could be quite bad. But I'm hoping Southampton go there, put in a good performance, and look towards next season really.
Well, as you can imagine, lots of really positive score predictions in the comments. Steve, I'm going to come to you first for a score prediction. What do you reckon?
Well, we're playing a game against a team directly around us, so obviously we're going to lose 1-0.
We're all going to say we're going to lose 1-0. Glenn?
Yeah, 1-0 Forest.
1-0 Forest. And Mr. Optimism?
I was going to say 1-0 Forest, but I'll go 2-0 Forest. They'll hit Southampton on the counter in the last 5 minutes.
What? We'll be attacking late in the game?